It's the pre-Songkran program, and we've got Songkran on tomorrow. Now, I'll be here right throughout the whole Songkran period, so we will have news tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, hopefully with Nick. Might be doing some cooking. And I think we're sort of pseudo-celebrating our 20,000 subscribers on Saturday. More about that if I can get my head together over the next few days and organise something. And then on Sunday, Grumpy Old Men with Steve. But let's get stuck into today's news as I grab my trusty iPen. And this story from Thai Inquirer asking the question, did Prayut violate electoral laws? And General Prayut Chan-o-cha broke an electoral rule which forbids singing and dancing at public events. Really? While senior members of the Air Force were singing on stage, the Air Force chief stepped off the stage to invite Prayut up onto the stage, and the caretaking premier obliged. Prayut Chan-o-cha is the caretaker Prime Minister now after Parliament was dissolved a few weeks ago in the lead up to the May 14 election. He went on to sing and dance on the stage, which is allegedly a violation of the electoral law. The question is why? And the Secretary-General of the Election Commission warned candidates last week to avoid arranging parties and to avoid singing and dancing. He said they can attend events, but they cannot break the law while attending them. They should use recordings instead of singing live with accompanying performances, because that could be breaking the law and they should avoid it. And the Rum Thai Sangchart Party has already been criticised for including the royal institution in their campaign speeches. Okay, we'll get onto that in a sec, but I'm not sure what the problem is with singing or dancing on stage. I mean, what will Thai TikTok do if we don't have shots of bad singing politicians doing really weird dances on stage during the election campaign? Anyway, let's go on to their other beef. And apparently the deputy leader of the Thai Sangchart Party said during a speech that no other Prime Minister candidate is better than Big Two. Prayut's nickname in Thailand is Uncle Two. And if you want a good government that Rama 9 wanted, you should vote for Rum Thai Sangchart Party. There's a fairly direct link with the monarchy, I would have thought. Let the Election Commission work that out. But I would have thought that bad election campaign rules make for a bad election campaign. I remember back in Australia there used to be a law, this is during the 1980s, that the radio stations had to have a radio blackout 72 hours before the election. TV could talk about the election right up to the election date. The newspapers could publish anything they liked right up to the election debate, but radio couldn't. A really strange law that's since been changed. I used to work on a radio program where the host, his name was Darren Hinch, used to go out of his way to break that election rule every single time. Ended up actually spending some time in jail over the matter. So there are some silly election rules out there in the world. So here in Thailand, expect a few Thai politicians to be absolute rebels and get up on the stage and sing their heart out. Let's go to our next story today. And from Thai PBS World, Thai police to seek extradition of Chinese students' alleged murderers. And Thai police are in consultation with their Chinese counterparts over the extraditions of 3 Chinese nationals wanted for the abduction and murder of a Chinese student in Thailand. And Jin Kan, the name of the student, she was a third-year music student at the Bangkok Thonburi University. She was found dead on April the 1st. The 3 Chinese nationals fled back to China on March the 30th after they'd allegedly killed their hostage when her father refused to pay them the equivalent of 2.5 million baht in ransom. He said that he thought it was all just a bit of a prank. And Surachat said that the 3 are now in Chinese police custody and they've admitted to killing the student, whereas the Thai female was given 40,000 baht by the trio for allegedly assisting them with their criminal act. She's also been variously described in Thai media as a karaoke bar employee. And Surachat says that the Thai police want the suspects extradited to stand trial in Thailand because the offences were committed here. Well, interesting situation. There's no formal extradition treaty between China and Thailand. 1, 2, 3 Chinese suspects, Chinese victim. They flew back to China. They've been arrested in China. They've admitted to the crime. I think it might be difficult for Thailand to get them back into Thailand to serve justice. We'll keep you up to date on that story. Another story from Thai PBS World, and Thai media hopes for positive change after the general election. Just noting that Thai PBS World is owned by the Thai government. Press freedom remains a challenge in Thailand, especially when it comes to political issues. According to the 2022 World Press Freedom Index, Thailand's 115 out of 180 countries. Well, demonstrably there, Thailand not faring very well when it comes to press freedom. I think part of the issue here is that there are some just no-go topics, some almost taboo topics with Thai media. But in other areas, it's all gloves off, no holds barred. I've been to media conferences where Thai media have torn shreds off Thai politicians, including asking very pointed questions, even to the Thai Prime Minister. And they can get pretty prickly as well in response, sometimes in a very polite Thai way, but nonetheless can be quite willing at those media conferences. Despite improving its ranking from the year before, the report says the country's media landscape is highly polarised, especially with Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha's vision of how the media should play a major role in supporting the government's affairs. Well, if you're an ex-army chief, I suppose you want things your way. It also mentioned that some of the lower profile media which tried to provide an alternative point of view, like Thai Inquirer that we started the program with today, often end up being targeted by authorities, unlike mainstream media which toe the government line. I think that's meant to be TOW. With the May 14th general election around the corner, many Thai journalists are hoping for more press freedom in reporting political issues while demanding that authorities remain transparent with the election process, which will affect the direction of Thailand's future. And a news reporter from Workpoint TV says, as journalists, sometimes we have to admit there are restrictions in reporting on political conflicts, whether you're reporting on the government or opposition. And a news reporter from Channel 7 also wants to see Thai journalists upholding their ethical standards, especially when reporting Thai politics, as he feels the media has always been criticised by the public in many ways. Well, the media is always going to be a target when it comes to political coverage leading up to an election. Nothing here in Thailand like some Western countries, including the US. And I have to apologise for a fellow Australian called Rupert Murdoch, who at the start of the 90s bought Fox News and employed a man called Roger Ailes. And they came up with the idea of basically weaponising their political coverage, targeting one particular demographic and only giving them the news that they want. And of course, they boxed all the advertisers in as well. And it proved to be a very astute financial decision. Whether it's done much for political coverage in America, I think you can make your own decision on that. But by Fox News heading to the right of politics, it forced all the other media to head off into their particular demographics as well. And that situation, I just think, is getting worse there. You're watching TNT. It's our Wednesday program, and we will be here right throughout Songkran. Well, some more passengers arriving here for their trip with 5-Star Marine. If you'd like to join them and go on a private tour to any of the islands off Phuket, I can highly recommend 5-Star Marine. As you can see, another beautiful day in Phuket. There's a link to 5-Star Marine in the description of this video. It's our Wednesday program, and good luck to you, whatever you're doing for Songkran. Hopefully you can get a bit of a break. Let's go to our next story, which is another follow-up to a story we've been covering. And from Thai PBS World, it says that Taiwan detects Chinese warships, planes, around the island after the drills end. Oh, I thought it was all finished yesterday. No. And Chinese warships and aircraft were still operating around Taiwan yesterday, according to the island's defence ministry. China launched 3 days of military exercises around self-ruled Taiwan on Saturday that saw it simulate targeted strikes and practice a blockade of the island. And the show of force from Beijing, which claims the island as part of its territory, was a response after the meeting of the Taiwanese president and the US House Speaker last week. Taiwan's defence ministry said it had detected 9 Chinese warships and 26 aircraft around the island. And the ministry says that China organised military aircraft, this is yesterday, and crossed the median line from the north, centre and the south, referring to the unofficial but once largely adhered to border that runs down the middle of the Taiwan Strait. So it looks like the 3 days of war games might have stretched out to a 4th day. But we've also got some other things happening in the South China Sea, and the Straits Times reporting that we are combat ready. Philippines' US kick off the largest war games amid soaring China tensions. As we read the story, remember that the Straits Times is basically a mouthpiece for the Singaporean government. And the story reported from Manila, the Philippines and the US on Tuesday launched their biggest ever joint military exercise, which will include a ship-sinking rocket bombardment drill in the South China Sea. And key military officials from the two nations were present at the opening ceremony for the 38th exercise Balikatan. And Balikatan means shoulder to shoulder in Tagalog. That's the official language of the Philippines, and it's going to run until April the 28th. Officials say a major highlight of the military exercise is the live fire drills at sea to be held on April the 26th. And a decommissioned Philippine Navy ship will be bombarded with rockets and missiles by both the US and the Philippines to demonstrate the long-time allies' maritime defence capability. And the spokesperson for the Balikatan exercises said, "We're demonstrating that we're combat ready." He added that the Philippine President, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., will observe the live demonstration and that he was excited to watch the two forces in action. When it comes to poking the bear, I would have thought a show of some fireworks in the South China Sea by the US and the Philippines would do just that. And Balikatan will involve more than 17,600 soldiers, 12,000 from the US, 5,500 from the Philippines, making it the biggest iteration of the war games thus far. Australia is also deploying more than 100 soldiers for Balikatan, while allied countries such as Japan, India, Canada and Britain are sending military observers. Should be quite a show, and I'm sure we'll hear more about that reported in the next few weeks. And the story goes on to say that the Philippine Coast Guard continues to monitor scores of suspected Chinese militia ships in the eastern part of the South China Sea that lie within Manila's exclusive economic zone, and the country calls the area the West Philippine Sea. Well, a lot of different names for that body of water, and as we reported last week, we've got ASEAN and China in ongoing discussions to solve, well, centuries-long confusion over who's responsible for what and which territorial waters belong or can be used by which countries. So as long as they keep talking, that's a good thing. We move on to our next story now, and Thailand aims to attract 150,000 tourists from Saudi Arabia this year. And Thailand set a big objective of attracting 150,000 high-value Saudi Arabian tourists. TAT love this high-value tourists that they keep on talking about. And the TAT revealed the improved diplomatic relations between Thailand and Saudi Arabia. And they say back in 2015, there were some 25,000 Saudi Arabian tourists, and that's now improved till last year. The number surged to 96,389, and the number of Saudi Arabian tourists already this year has reached 21,388. And the TAT say that Saudi Arabian tourists usually enter Thailand as couples. They also stay in luxury hotels and have high spending capacity, averaging around 100,000 baht per person on their short trips. They also say that 53% of them are first-time visitors, while 43% have visited Thailand before. Interesting, the change of demographics as we start moving into 2023. And we've had Russians coming for whatever reasons. We've had the Indians continuing with their surge, which started at the start of last year. Kazakhs, the visitors from Kazakhstan, come out of nowhere, becoming number 3 or 4, certainly in the top 5 at the moment. We've also got visitors from places like the US, the UK, Europe, much lower numbers this year, particularly because I suppose or suspect the high cost of airfares at the moment. So quite a changing demographic. Move on to our final story here from the Bangkok Post. Cross-border haze on ASEAN meet agenda. And Thailand will put the cross-border dust pollution issue on the table at an upcoming ASEAN summit, according to the Foreign Minister Don Pramudwinai. It'll be the 42nd ASEAN summit, held between May the 9th and the 11th in Indonesia. Mr Don also spoke on the haze issue after a virtual meeting was held on it last week between the leaders of Thailand, Myanmar and Laos. When asked about the northern people urging the Foreign Ministry to coordinate with neighbouring countries to stop their burn-offs, Mr Don said it was part of the discussion in last week's virtual meeting. He said the neighbouring countries also faced the same issue and wanted to resolve it. I want to confirm we've been trying to solve the problem. It might have slowed down during the pandemic, but the problem has now become more intense. Our neighbouring countries and we ourselves have to solve it. Severe air pollution was recorded in 12 areas in the upper northern provinces of Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, Lamphun, Mae Hong Son and Nan. And that's referring to yesterday. Let's check today's report from IQ Air. And there we go. We've got the map there. Up the top, we've got Chiang Rai, we've got Chiang Mai a little bit lower, and we've got all that fire activity there in northern Laos, and quite obvious to see where it is all happening. In those border areas around the north of Thailand, you've got the dark purple and the purple, and as the map says, that's very unhealthy and hazardous. So that's the latest fire map this morning from IQ Air. So good that that meeting is going to at least start to talk about it. Too late this year to do anything, but maybe some things can be put in action to try and reduce or start to reduce this air pollution problem, because that is completely intolerable and it has to be stopped for the people's health and for the future of tourism in northern Thailand. So if you're heading off for Songkran, please take care. Some additional stops maybe along the way. Be aware that a lot of people will be on the roads heading back to the Thai New Year activities. Tomorrow, of course, people will be out with the buckets. So be warned that if you're walking around the streets or even on a motorbike, you could end up with a bucket of water all over you. So don't wear the Gucci or the Louis Vuitton tomorrow. Thanks for watching. We will be here right throughout Songkran. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow.